Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Richard G. Medlock, and this is the Medlock Post radio show. This is the song Days of Glory. Very inspiring. It is considered a patriotic song, and we'll lead off today with that. So this is where we educate, entertain, enlighten, and empower. Alrighty. This is going to be an interesting day for a lot of reasons. Today is July 6, 2022, and today's episode is entitled Trump 2024 Maybe. Emphasis on the maybe. I told you in episode 13, this is episode 14, that that's going to be our subject today. And it's going to lead in, tie in some of the discussion we had in episode 13 about how America got to where it is and how communism has played a part in it. And you're going to see some of that in the discussion today and give you some more insight into that. Here's our disclaimer. The views and opinions on the Medlock Post radio show are the views and opinions of, yes, me, the host. They are not necessarily the views and opinions of Spreaker.com, its corporations, affiliates, or any other podcast streaming services, which we are on multiple services now. Spotify, Google Podcast, I wish I could remember all of them. YouTube, you can find us on YouTube. Tumblr is one of them. I need to make a list so I can tell you where to look that might be your favorite. And we're trying to expand that. I'm even looking at going another different way. I'm talking with some people about that right now. We appreciate your support, your comments. I got some really nice comments about yesterday's program. My email is medlockpost@gmail.com, and that's MEDLOCK post, all one word, @gmail.com. Some of you even sent me messages on my Facebook page. We do have a Medlock Post Facebook group. It's a private group. If you want to join us, just go there and ask to join. I get a lot of stuff. I'll put a lot of stuff on there. These are interesting times. We're going there. But let's start with our quote. I guess the quote of the day by Henri Nouwen. That's Nouwen. And he says, quote, "What makes the temptation of power so seemingly irresistible? Maybe it is that power offers an easy substitute for the hard task of love." Yes, of love. It seems easier to be God than to love God. Easier to control people than to love people. Easier to own life than to love life, unquote. I like that quote. It puts a lot of things into perspective, a lot of things to think about, which we have those things on a daily basis. We are here to get you to think for yourself, to ask questions. That's why I ask some questions on the program and don't answer them. They're for you to figure out. Come to your own conclusions, a lot from the information I give you and information that you have and that you might go seek. Remember, man does not create truth. Man is to discover truth. And That's just a simple way of doing it and to understand it. All right, my opening monologue. The past 2.5 weeks in politics has been some of the most interesting times in American history. The Supreme Court has decided rulings on some very major issues pertaining to the rule of law and the United States Constitution. Needless to say, some people were very irked by these rulings, and that is saying it mildly. The biggest thing to learn from the reaction to these rulings is who is for America and the rule of law, and who is against America and the rule of law. For some, that was a shocking awakening to see the behavior of some prominent people and even some corporations, and the basic hatred that they showed toward America and the rule of law. You can go back and listen to episode 2 and 3 of the Medlock Post when I talked about the rule of law versus ruler's law. And by going back, listening to those 2 episodes, and then coming forward, you're going to see, wow, those are eye-openers. Here are some things that have been obvious to me. When it was revealed from the leaked opinion by Judge Alito that Roe versus Wade could be overturned, politicians and people went crazy. And guess what? They still don't know who the leaker is. I think they know, they're just not going to do anything about it. We heard the talk for the first time when they wanted the right to kill the baby. That had never been said out loud prior to that time. From Nancy Pelosi to Schumer to Biden and people on the streets, we want the right to kill babies. What a big eye-opener. Then the ruling on religious freedom and prayer on public property. Another outburst. They accused SCOTUS of allowing children to be dragged to prayer circles and forced to pray. Really? Forgetting that those that joined Coach Kennedy had done so on their own free will because they wanted to pray. It hit me how concerned they are with children praying and at the same time support children being indoctrinated into gay and transgender ideologies. Such hypocrisy defies any common sense or logic. The only explanation can only be their focus is only on one thing. There's a parable about the rock in your eye. By holding a small pebble up close to your eye, that's all you can see, like a big rock in front of you. But when you pull the pebble away from your eye, your view changes, and you can see many things more clearly. I think those that are against America and the rule of law are so focused on one thing, like pebble directly in front of their eyes, they can't see anything else, especially truth. It's like what Plato referred to as a falsehood to be treated like a religious principle. They have been deceived. This saying, I'm sure many of you have heard, first we overlook evil, then we permit evil, then we legalize evil, then we promote evil, then we celebrate evil, then we persecute those who still call it evil. Plato would be proud that his philosophy has spread so much evil to so many. And that is our opening monologue. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a message for the climate changers out there in America and the world. It is July, and it's supposed to be hot. And also, August will be hot. Count on it. So that's my message to climate changers. What a fraud, folks. All right, the subject of today. Trump 2024. Maybe? It's a question. Maybe? Some people think, well, if he's going to run, why hasn't he announced it already? It's an interesting question. So let's look into this. In April 2015, Donald and Melania Trump ascended down an escalator in New York City to announce he was running for the GOP presidential candidate for president. In that announcement, Mr. Trump said he would not let America fall under the control of globalists. With that one statement, Donald J. Trump started a war with globalists, the Democratic Socialists, the Republican establishment, and the administrative state of the United States government. Trump was unaware of how big, damaging, and harmful that war would turn out to be. I'm not going to rehash everything during his 4 years. That's common knowledge. So former President Donald J. Trump is deciding whether to run or not run for the President of the United States in 2024. When he holds a political rally, thousands of supporters attend, waving American flags and wearing MAGA hats. The American people loved his America First policies and still do love his America First policies, which turned the economy into a roaring lion, created millions of jobs, sent the stock market soaring, and sent the world on an upward path as well. His foreign policies put our enemies on defensive. Oh, how things have changed in a very short period of time. But let's look toward the future and the idea of Trump running again and even becoming president again. Despite the thousands that attend his rallies and strongly support him, there are Republican voters who do not like the man personally, even though they have never met Donald Trump. Their decisions are based on the information the media has lied about him and continue to lie about him. The GOP socialists, formerly rhinos, in my book they're not rhinos anymore, they're GOP socialists, have put him down and fought against him from his presidential announcement in 2015. The Democratic Socialists, with help from the GOP socialists, formerly rhinos, are still going after him any way they can to keep him out of American politics or even from holding office. The January 6th committee's sole purpose is to destroy Mr. Trump any way they can, even by having people come in front of the committee and lie and destroy their personal credibility and anything else they have. Casey Hutchinson is a case in point. She lied. The committee knows she lied. Everybody in America knows she lied. The Secret Service came out and said she lied by saying those events never happened. The people in the car, the Secret Service people in the car, said it didn't happen. And this is why the January 6th committee is not going back to revisit that or even call Secret Service agents come up to corroborate or confirm or deny her testimony. Now, there's a whole bunch of other things that have just been shown to be untrue from this committee. I saw this morning they're going to have another committee meeting or hearing, they call it, on July 12th, which is next Tuesday. They're probably going to get the California Raisins to come up and testify this time. The problem the committee is having is that public is not paying attention to them because they know it's a farce, and most people know it's a witch hunt. The committee wants Donald Trump to be charged with a crime of insurrection. Even if the Department of Justice charges him, hang on to this, he will not be convicted, but they hope it will keep him off the ballot in 2024 and forever. Now, let's look at him being charged and the Department of Justice going ahead with that charge and then wanting to take him to court. They could drag that out for years and keep Trump tied up with that charge. He cannot do anything for public office. As Plato points out, tyrants cannot rule without purging the valiant and the high-minded. Anyone with virtue is a threat to them. Are you seeing this picture here, ladies and gentlemen? Now, let me ask you some questions. And you've got to answer yourself, folks. Who was smart enough to realize that our government has been corrupt way before Donald Trump got elected? Who was smart enough to understand that everyone who suddenly hated him when he ran for president used to be friends with him? Especially those on the NAACP and other African American associations that loved him because he treated them so well and did so much for them. But all of a sudden, they turned against him. Who can see that the only reason they have been fighting to get rid of him so hard is because he is exposing all their crimes? Who gets that they hate him so much because he has betrayed them by exposing their crimes against humanity? Who can grasp that the corrupt politicians never planned on fixing anything they say, and they will and could care less about the American people? Have you ever seen them fight this hard as they are against Trump for anything else? Unless it's a criminal nature. All it takes, ladies and gentlemen, is just a little common sense and logic to figure out what is going on here. And it plays right into what we talked about yesterday with Plato. And if you missed episode 13, please go back and then you'll understand what we're talking about today. All right, let's take a look at the positives and negatives of Donald Trump running for re-election in 2024. All right. Trump has done a pretty good job of developing a base of good electable Republicans for the 2022 election. He's endorsed a lot of people. Now, I didn't agree with all of his endorsements, but especially two of them. But right now, there are over 130 candidates that he endorsed that have won in the GOP primaries for the House, the Senate, and governorships, and some other offices. I think Attorney General in a couple of states. This is a good base. So for conversation discussion, let's assume all of the candidates that he endorsed, I think it's up to 134 now, get elected and go to the House, the Senate, and governors. That's a powerful base to stand on. Keep that in mind. He has a large money supply and fundraising mechanism to use to help them in their campaigns and for himself if he runs. Now, they're going after his fundraising right now. His SPAC, they're going after it. They want to prove it's corrupt. They want to shut it down, right? This is what's happening. This is America. I don't see him going after Nancy Pelosi's PAC. I don't see him going after AOC's PAC or Hillary Clinton's PAC. She says she's going to run for president. That's fine, let her. Does he have enough voters to carry him to victory? Now, that's the big question, isn't it? Now, why do I ask that question? Think about it for a minute. Does he have enough votes or voters to carry him to victory? Now, I think a lot of people, a lot of you out there are saying, yeah, he's got the votes. He's got Republicans, he's got Hispanics, which have just flocked. I think 40% of Hispanics have turned to Republicans. A large independent base. And I've talked to a lot of Democrats, and these are good. These aren't the wacko, extreme Democrats that are running the government right now. These are down-to-earth, common-sense people, and they're sitting there going, I didn't vote for this. And I think they would vote for Donald Trump. Well, that's a big block, right? Without something extraordinary happening out there. But let me run something by you that I've run by several of my friends that are deep into politics, understand politics. Some have even ran campaigns for senators and House members and governors. So they understand politics. and how it works. And so here's my thinking, and I could be completely wrong. There's a couple of, well, there's 2 or 3 things that could happen. One is Donald Trump runs after the November 2022 election, take back the House, the Republicans take back the House, the Senate, and he decides to run in 2024. He's got a good base sitting in both houses, and he could go in and maybe get some things done versus the first time. He got a lot done, but he had to fight a lot of battles to get there. Number 2 is he does not run, but he maintains his position as head of the Republican Party, drives the campaigning, endorses strong candidates, even for president and vice president, and rides that to a victory in November 2024. So you say, what's the third option? Oh, goody, he's going to go away. No, he's not going away. The third option, and I think of this because of the pushback from the Romneys and the Cheneys, who are has-beens at this point. Cheney is only pulling, Liz Cheney, and she's only pulling 8% in the polls in her home state of Wyoming. She's gone. The Republican Party there has thrown her out of the party. And she even came out yesterday and said, oh, I'm thinking of running for president in 2024. Well, fine, Liz, go. You're going to have to run either as a Democrat or an independent or the has-been party, one of those. What's another option on the table that Donald Trump has? Creating his own political party? Huh? Is that a possibility? After November, he gets a lot of his endorsed candidates into the House, the Senate, and governorships. And the GOP socialists are still pushing against him. They're still coming after him in investigations, etc. And what happens? He says, I've had it. We're going to start the MAGA party. The MAGA party. Make America Great Again. You've already got the hats and T-shirts and everything out there. So with these people that he helped get into Congress and governorships, they fall in line and leave the Republican Party and become part of the MAGA party. That gives them a strong voice, especially in the House of Representatives. The other thing that could happen is one of them gets in it, and there's a lot of people in the House that strongly support Donald Trump. And they're already there. Getz and Jordan and some others, and they get in there and they vote out the current leadership in the House, Republican leadership, and gets Jim Jordan or Getz or somebody like that in there that's strong and will stand up to the naysayers and stand up to the Democratic Socialists and have a strong leadership in the House of Representatives and get some good bills introduced that can go to the Senate and get them done. Get Mitch McConnell out of the leadership in the Senate. This is a possibility, folks. And I think that Donald Trump has this on his table. I really do. So a little something to think about. Now, the next thing you say is this. It is. How many voters will go with him? Is he still going to maintain his same base? Will that base grow? Well, here are some numbers that we discussed, my friends and I, as far as watching our votes come into him. The number in the Republican Party, I threw out the number 40%. Some of the people in the group said 50, maybe even 60% of Republicans would go with Trump to the MAGA party as voters. $40 to 60%. What about Democrats? I threw out 20, 25% of Democrats would go to the MAGA party. Some others thought 30%, some even thought 40% would cross over and come to the MAGA party because they're fed up with what the Democratic Socialists are doing to ruin this country. And they didn't sign up for this. So take a look at this. A MAGA third party rocking and rolling. Or what about the independents? Our general consensus came to 60%. 60%. People are fed up with both parties, not just Democrat, socialist. They're fed up with the Republicans and their socialism grab right now. So 60% of independents could go with him to the MAGA party. Hispanics could be the 40%, even up to 60%. Hispanics are fed up with the southern border being wide open and all these illegals coming in. Donald Trump had put a stop to most of it. So you see where this could go? This is a possibility. I'm just conjecturing here, folks. I'm just conjecturing a good possibility of what Donald Trump might have up his sleeve. And I look at that, he might come out tomorrow and say, hey, I'm running for president for the GOP candidate and just blow this out of the water. But, things could still change. But let's kind of look at the negative side of this now. Trump is attacked on a daily basis from politicians, from the media, from people on the street that just don't like him because the media says they should not like him. They haven't done their research. And I know people like that. You can't talk to them. They hate him. I said, why? Because the media, CNN said, or da-da-da said. All right. They're going to keep going after him, his businesses, his family, his staff members, on and on. They're going to keep going after him. I call this baggage. Trump has a lot of baggage. Some of it, a small part of it, he created himself, But that small part is not enough to prevent him from being a great president. This other created false baggage is what's going to keep following him. They're not going to let go of this. They want to destroy this man. They want to destroy his ideology of America first. They want that destroyed. And they want those that believe that destroyed. They want you to change your mind. That's not good. Change your mind. You're crazy. So the Democratic Socialists and the GOP Socialists will continue with unmerciful attacks. I mean, if he gets in office, day one, they're probably going to try to impeach him. For what? Getting elected again? All that would do is bog down the government even further when the work that needs to be done to turn America around would just stall. And ladies and gentlemen, we don't need that. Now, you're sitting there going, Richard, you just gave us all these reasons not to support Trump, but then you gave us all these reasons to support him. Yeah, both sides of the story here. This is me talking. And I've talked to a lot of people about this and gotten a lot of good feedback and kind of, I got to think about that, which you've got to think about. Now, I support Trump. I support his policies. They're great policies. They're American first policies. What he did worked. He had our enemies on the run. So we've got to consider those things. And as a people, we need to stand up and tell our elected officials to sit down and shut up and do your job the way you're supposed to do it. The problem is they don't care about us. They really don't. They don't care about you and I and what happens to us. They want us miserable so they can control us. They want us groveling to the government to take care of our problems. And that's been the problem since Franklin Delano Roosevelt. They created this welfare state that grovels to the government. And you say, well that welfare system, it's really been successful. Show me that it's been successful. We have spent $70 trillion in over 50 years, and we have more people on welfare today and more people in poverty than ever before. It's not made to take people out of poverty and to get them off welfare. It's to keep them there. Understand that. Yeah, I'm wound up now. So the sooner you come to understand that, the sooner we can start turning this thing around. Think, folks. Get some common sense in your head and start thinking about these things and put two and two together. All right, let's move on. Let's ask the question now. If not Trump, then who? All right. So at the top of my list is Mike Pompeo, former Secretary of State. Did a fabulous job. Worked with Trump hand in hand, formulated foreign policies that worked, and had our enemies on the defensive and on the run, and had them scared of us. Because they had no clue what Trump would do if they tried to attack or do something. He kept them off guard. And Mike Pompeo was right there with him. Mike Pompeo has no baggage. None. Zero. Number 2 is Governor Ron DeSantis, Florida. He's a fighter. He's a lot like Trump. You want to get in my face? I'm going to get in your face. You want to accuse me of doing something wrong? I'm going to show you why you are wrong and I'm right. And he's done it over and over and over. He is standing up to woke corporations in his state, i.e. Disney is one of them. Disney's scared to death of him. Took their big money-making machine away from them. Governor Kristi Noem out of South Dakota. She's strong. She's conservative. She understands the Constitution. She fights for her people in her state. She's done a great job. Mike Pence, former vice president. I've never really liked Mike Pence. I think he's too spineless, wimpy. When he was in Congress before and as governor of Indiana, I just didn't see, he just played the game. We don't need anybody to play the game. Now, he's being pushed right now because he's part of that group that we've been talking about. We don't need any more of that group. Nikki Haley, former ambassador to the United Nations and former governor of South Carolina. Now, a lot of people are sitting there going, no, she was anti-Trump. She was Trump, and then she became Rhino, and then she's come back, and she da-da-da-da. Let me tell you about Nikki Haley, because I'm from her state. She has woke up to the errors of her mistakes. And she's correcting them big time. As an ambassador to the United Nations, she had a hammer and she brought it down on those other states that were against America and against good things and against freedom. She put the hammer down on them. And she wasn't afraid to do that. Well, she'd make a good Secretary of State as well. And as governor of South Carolina, she had to fight that dumb good old boy system we have here in South Carolina. And she won. She beat them back and she won. So she's a fighter. And she's understanding her mistakes and has made corrections. Governor Glenn Youngkin of Virginia is on this list. Now, he fought one heck of a fight in Virginia to become governor because Virginia had gone so woke and so socialistic, it was pathetic. And he's trying to get that turned around. I'd love his assistant governor. That's not what they're called. Just totally left my mind. She's great. She's a fighter. She's standing up. She's saying it like it is, the way it's supposed to be. Donald Trump Jr. Really? That is a possibility, folks. He understands the America First ideologies. He was there working it, making it happen, and he knows how to make the press look like it is, like his dad did. Even does. Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. No, I think his days for running for president are over. I really do. Senator Rick Scott is on some people's list out of Florida. Hey, I hate to tell you this, folks. Rick Scott is a Democrat socialist. He jumped on the Republican Party just so he could get elected years ago. But he is not a conservative, period. All right, so here's some names that I've thrown out. So let me put my picks together. And for the GOP presidential ticket for 2022, Mike Pompeo for president and Nikki Haley for vice president. I'm sure you're not surprised after what I've just been saying. Well, you said, what about Ron DeSantis? Governor Ron DeSantis. I like Governor Ron DeSantis. I like Kristi Noem. She'd be a great vice presidential candidate for right now, leading to running for president. However, here's my concern with really good, strong governors wanting to run for president right now. We need those strong governors in those states to keep them red states. We need that battleground held. We do not need to lose any ground that we have already taken and have control of. Do you understand that strategy? I hope so. I hope so. But that's my thinking. Now, a lot of people are going, man, this guy's wacko. And that's fine. If you think I'm wacko, I'm wacko. But let's put our heads together and start thinking about 2024. Mike Pompeo is strong. He's smart. He can handle the media. He can handle anybody. Nikki Haley is doing that. Now, Virginia, he just got Virginia back, folks. Now, if his vice governor were to step up for in his place, she's tough. She's tough. But I'd like to see him stay there and win some battles in Virginia and turn that state red again. See, this is a forward-thinking strategy that I'm looking at here. I'm not looking just for today. Donald Trump Jr. could be a really, really strong vice presidential candidate. I could see him instead of Nikki Haley. I could see Donald Trump Jr. as a vice presidential candidate. However, again, he's a Trump, and they're going to bring up all his baggage of his dad. They're going to transfer it to him. That's a concern I have. But he would make a good vice presidential candidate. So that's what we're looking at on the GOP side. Let's take a look on the Democratic Socialist side. That's a head scratcher, isn't it? Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Hunter Biden. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to put Hunter Biden's name in there, folks. He's such an outstanding individual. Oh, my goodness. I don't think they could continue to cover up everything, all the bad things he's done for him to run for public office. And that brings me to a point. They're trying to investigate Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's brother, and all these schemes that they went around the world making millions of dollars, okay? I think what happened is when Joe Biden left the White House in 2016 at the end of Obama's term, and he didn't get the nomination, Hillary Clinton got it. that he might have decided his political life was over. And if you look at what happened with Hunter and Joe's brother, they really stepped up going out to these foreign countries and getting all this money brought in, so basically buying influence. And then all of a sudden, Joe Biden is thrust back into political life and ends up running for president, and some crazy, unforeseen reason won. And all of these things are sitting there with no explanation. You know that Joe Biden has gone in there and blocked all requests for all the financial records and tax returns for Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and his brother. He himself went in and blocked them. Now that's tyranny. Okay, let's get back to the list. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Senators Bernie Sanders, and Senator Elizabeth Warren. They ran last time. They want to run again. They're both extreme socialists. Pete Buttigieg, our current Secretary of Transportation, who knows nothing and can do nothing. Everything he touches is just falls apart. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, yes, her name's been thrown out there, AOC. And I mentioned earlier, Liz Cheney says she was thinking about running for president. She's got an 8% support rating in her home state. I mean, she's put a gun to her head politically and pulled the trigger. It's crazy. All right, so you see the picture here. I hope you do. I really do. All right, enough of that. Let's talk about the economy, ladies and gentlemen. Have you seen it in the news in the last 2 days? The second quarter GDP report? Have you seen it? It's not being talked about. It's hard to find in the news the second quarter GDP. Remember, first quarter was negative 1.6. Now, the last couple of weeks, projections have come out saying, oh, it's going to be plus 0.1. It could be 0. It's going to be pretty flat. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is far from flat. It came out yesterday, and nobody's talking about it. The GDP for second quarter in the United States of America was minus 2.1%. Yes, minus 2.1%. 2 quarters in a row negative. In the textbook, that says you're in a recession. And again, the debate, a lot of people think we're there, and 50% think we're not. Well, I think we're there already, folks. So from a 7.8% growth of fourth quarter GDP in 2021 to a negative 1.6 in first quarter 2022, we're now dropped another 2.1% minus negative growth. We're shrinking, folks. Consumer spending in May only went up 0.3%. Way low. It's basically flat. 74% of consumers are afraid of a recession. Well, folks, you better wake up because we're there. There's nothing in policies or actions that are taking place that's going to turn this around. It's only going to make it worse. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, been a day, hasn't it? We've covered a lot. I've thrown a lot of things at you to think about, and I hope you do think about them. And but I want to finish with one quick thing, because I think it's important. Professor Rosa Brooks of the Georgetown University Law School was on MSNBC yesterday. And this is what she said, ladies and gentlemen. Americans are slaves to the United States Constitution that was written by a tiny group of white slave-owning men. We're slaves to an ancient constitution causing tragedies. Folks, this is what we're up against. An ideology of anti-America, anti-constitution, anti-rule of law. These are people that are supporting tyranny in America. Our next program, we're going to start out with, what did Karl Marx really want to achieve when he wrote the Communist Manifesto? That's what we're going to talk about in episode 15. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great day, and there's let's go out listening to beer, beards, and barbecue. And that, folks, is the Medlock Post for today. Thank you, and God bless America.